Hi, I'm Krista West of Avlea Folk Embroidery, and this is the November FlossTube. And I'm just going to warn you right now, it's going to be kind of short and sweet. There's a lot that's been going on, but a lot of you have seen the emails, and so I have a fair amount to share, but not as much as I usually do. So, for those of you who are new, I'm Krista West. I'm the owner and designer of Avlea Folk Embroidery. And you can find me, most of my designs are at the website, which is in the little notes below here, but it's www.avleaembroidery.com. You can also follow me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is kristamwest. I'll put that in the notes. I am still learning Pinterest. So I'm on Pinterest, but only just a little bit right now, like as I figure it out and learn how to do that. But today, kind of the big news is that the Avlea thank you sale is still going on. So about 3 years ago, I was just so amazed that people actually were even interested in folk embroidery that I started doing a month-long thank you sale so that all the customers of Avlea had a chance to stock up. And it was like a little way that I could say thank you to everyone who buys my designs and my kits and supports this work of reviving folk embroidery in the United States. Well, really worldwide, but I'm mostly focused on the United States. So the sale is site-wide. It's 20% off everything. And it goes from November 1st to November 30th. And the code is thank you, all in caps, 22. If you want to know, I don't run that many sales. That's actually part of why it's kind of special too. I don't run a lot of sales and specials and things like that. I really work hard to keep my kit and pattern prices low to begin with, and really affordable. And so adding a sale on, so I don't do a lot of sale gimmicks, for lack of a better word. I don't mark things up so I can mark them down and that kind of thing. I just keep them at a really reasonable price. But then in November, you get an extra 20% off. So it's a great time to stock up on kits and gifts and things like that. If you want to get the Avlea holiday gift guide, that's actually going out this Saturday on the emails. So if you haven't signed up for the emails, I'd recommend you sign up for those. I try every week to give just a little window kind of into my creative journey with folk embroidery. So I'll talk a little bit about what designs I'm working on, maybe something new that released, maybe give a little extra background information on a design, and then just kind of generally share where I'm at that week. So those are the Avlea weekly emails. But let's dive in and talk about embroidery because that is kind of why we're here. So the first thing that I'm really excited to share is just this morning yesterday I released the Scottish Rose hoop kit. Very excited about this one. Everyone who sees it goes, oh, I love the colors. And it is really this bold, intense, striking design. I love this. I found this design actually in a book that was all about decorative art in castles in Scotland and England and in big fancy homes. And how before they would really use wallpaper, they would actually just paint designs on the walls. And even, up around borders around close to the ceiling and over doorways and things like that. And you all know me well enough to know that I love decorative motifs. Decorative motifs are just, love, love, love. So I thought this would make such a great embroidery design. And boy, I was a little bit concerned about this one, if I can be really, really honest here. I was afraid it would look too simplistic because it's mostly just satin stitch. In fact, actually this one is, the hoop kit is all satin stitch with a tiny bit of back stitch thrown in. The cushion cover, which I'll show you in a minute, has Romanian stitch, but basically it's kind of a one stitch wonder. But what I was so thrilled about as I was working it is just how one stitch, something really simple like satin stitch, can be so just vibrant and glowy. I mean, it's so glowy. It's very glowy. Anyways, so this one I'm really excited about that it just launched yesterday. And then this morning, I finally got the cushion version up on the Avlea website just an hour or two ago. I just did it. And so I don't have the little video showing everything laid out yet because we're still in the process of making up all the kits. And Pamela has to leave that all out for me to do. So Pamela is my wonder assistant, who's amazing. She's totally helping me keep my sanity. So But this is out now on the website. So if you order this, first off, it's kind of exciting that you get 20% off, even though it's a brand new release. And it will ship on Monday. So just to let you know that. But this one, I mean, my gosh, I just love this design. And this one also is worked mostly in satin stitch, but then some of it, I'll get a little closer, is worked in Romanian stitch. And you can get further kind of shadowing and shading by using that Romanian stitch, which is really, really cool. So, and so this one's there. And then also this month, I released the Mira Medallion, both the hoop kit and the cushion. So this is kind of where I'm headed moving forward, is that I've had a lot of requests for people to do surface embroidery designs on cushions. And surface embroidery is where the design is printed on the fabric. I don't have a piece of the fabric. I should have grabbed one. But it's just printed there in little kind of sepia toned lines that just go away as soon as you stitch them. Like your stitching totally covers them. But I really liked the idea, like a lot of people get started with the 6-inch hoop kits, but then they want more, you know, and there isn't really a lot out in the embroidery world beyond a 6-inch hoop kit that doesn't get super technical, like super fast. And so I thought something kind of simple, easy to stitch, quick to stitch, but that could be a cushion cover would be great. These are on the Robert Kaufman's Essex cotton linen. So it's 55% linen, 45% cotton. I was actually initially hoping for an all linen, 100% linen, but when my Kaufman rep was like showing me different fabrics, I was like, wait, I really loved that this one, that little bit of cotton keeps it from getting too wrinkly, both as you stitch and then also just as you have it, like, you know, around your house on your couch, you know, you can like, you know, smush up against this one and it isn't going to just wrinkle all over the place. So that's part of why I went with the cotton linen blend. The cotton linen blends are also less expensive than 100% linen. And so that helped keep the price down too. So that it was a really, again, it could be an affordable kit. So now that we've talked about all that, let's talk about the designs. So Mira Medallion is actually based off of a little like black and white design I saw in a book on textiles that comes out of Byzantium. I've also seen very similar little motifs, these little rondelle motifs with like little florets in the middle in Byzantine illuminated manuscripts. And sometimes they're like just, they're in like the corner of like a larger border kind of a thing. As most of you have noted, if those of you are familiar with the Avlea website, a lot of folk embroidery has a lot of red in it. And I really wanted to challenge myself and do a design that actually had no red in it, that was like all blues and golds. And as soon as I started working on it, I was really originally envisioning this as being mostly blue and green. And I wasn't really factoring in working in much gold. But what I discovered is working in this kind of golden green color, wow, the rest of the design just started singing as soon as I started working in that color. So I ended up working in a little bit more of that color than I expected, which I loved. And now I'm like super happy with it. I also really love this design because it's a great one for a beginner. I would actually say this is probably my very, very best beginner kit. I know, you're like, what? It looks like that? I'm like, I know, right? So, but partly because the stitching is really easy. There is satin stitching in it, but they're nice small fill areas. So it's a great way to practice doing that satin stitch and things like that. The larger version here has chain stitch. It doesn't have any Pekingese. I went back and forth. Does she use Pekingese again or does she use chain stitch? And I really felt like this design just really wanted chain stitch. So I did a bunch with chain stitch in this. A bunch of this is chain stitch, which is a really fun stitch to work because it just looks like cording the minute you lay it down. It's got just this lovely like texture, the way it kind of sits up from the fabric. I don't know if you can see that, but anyways, so this is the Mira Medallion. The Scottish Rose, as we talked about, came out of a castle. The Athenian Palmette, which was the very first one that released, the beginning of November. This one is actually from an 18th century carpet, like loomed carpet, a small carpet that I saw in a reference book. It's a really old photo. Anyways, it was black and white. So I had to kind of envision what the colors might be. And this one just really, again, when I set out with all of my flosses and everything and sat there stitching, I really loved like the gradated blues. And then I ended up working in a little bit of this medium mocha brown because it keeps the gold from being too gold. It kind of ended up being this really like softening neutral, which I really liked. Kind of surprised me. I literally just had it on my sample floss ring. I've got like a big binder clip with like all the different floss colors. So if I'm stitching, I can quickly change my mind and be like, oh no, not 924 blue. Maybe I want the 311 blue, you know, the one that's more navy, or maybe I want something that's a little more gray or whatever. So I was quickly flipping through and I was like, oh wait, I should like try that one. And it just like really worked with the whole design. So that's the Athenian Palmette, which also comes as cushion and hoop. So I'm pretty excited about those. I know most of what I focused on with Avlea is cross stitch, but increasingly I'm getting a lot of the shops that carry Avlea designs, they're asking for more hoop kits. And I'm getting a lot of feedback about those. And I just hadn't really realized till I kind of got into it that there's a lot of need for high quality embroidery hoop kits, you know, that come with a good hoop, that are actually have a fabric that's really pleasant to work on, that actually come with DMC, you know, high quality floss and a good needle and things like that. Because I know if it was me, like in starting a new craft, if the material, if the first experience wasn't pleasant and enjoyable and like textural and haptic, that's my new favorite word, haptic, it means like having to do with like the touching and the feeling and the aesthetics and everything, I wouldn't want to come back to it. And so I feel like the first kind of kit that you might encounter either through embroidery or cross stitch has to be really, really great. So anyway, so that's kind of the story behind these. What other updates are going on around here? Well, for those of you who have been asking about Sea of Light, the Sea of Light design, I don't have the sample here because it's being displayed at the Salem Art Barn this month. It's part of their Winter Lights exhibition. It is the only textile piece in their exhibition. And when I went to the opening night, it was pretty funny. They've got it, okay, if we can just be really frank here, it was pretty hilarious. They've got it literally in like a case. Like I had told them, I said, you know, put it on a stand and like add a piece of pottery or something like that, like combine it with another artwork or something. And I go in and it's literally on this like white display stand with like plexiglass all around it, you know, heaven forbid anybody should touch the textile. Kind of cracked me up. And I was like, so I wasn't actually super thrilled with how it was displayed, but I think it's just a matter of my having a conversation with the people at the Art Association and kind of like just explaining how textiles like this could be displayed kind of to best advantage. But it's still very exciting to be chosen because it was a juried show. So it wasn't just like you showed up and got to like, you know, enter your piece. You had to actually be chosen. So that was kind of exciting. And again, it's a lot of people walking through seeing a textile piece in an art exhibition, which is mostly like acrylics, photographs, digital photographs, and those media. And that's not to knock those media. I just think that textiles should basically be able to stand right up there next to digital photography and oil paints and acrylic paints and sculpture and all this kind of thing. So, so that's why I don't have Sea of Light. But this one's going to release in December. So it's a really amazing design. This will be my first large design on the white traditional ground cloth. You know, for those of you who've stitched with Avlea for the last few years, the traditional ground cloth in the natural, it's 100% cotton, specialty even weave fabric that I import from Greece. I've had it in the natural from the very beginning. I've been trying to get it in the white. And over this past like 6 months, I've been working directly with the mill in Athens that makes the fabrics. And so I was finally able to get it in white. Boy, I really like stitching on it in white. And I'm not normally, like, I tend to gravitate more towards the warmer colors of fabrics, but I really like this fabric. I really like stitching on the white. And again, you can see I'm definitely moving out of my like, you know, red zone, and I'm doing more like blue themed things. And I love that there's enough designs now at the Avlea website that I can start. I feel like I have a little bit more freedom now with choosing color palettes, that I can be choosing things that are maybe in a particular color palette, like say greens and blues or things like that. And I'm kind of branching out a little bit from the historic folk embroidery palette. Now, if you're interested in the historic folk embroidery palette, I did get the post up on the courtyard. The courtyard, for those of you who are new, is a forum at the Avlea website where people can post about their work, what they're doing, as well as ask for help. There's techniques, different things like that, all sorts of embroidery related things. And I did post a few weeks ago the Mediterranean floss palette keyed to DMC colors, because several of you had asked me for that. What are the traditional, considered the traditional Mediterranean folk embroidery colors, but in DMC numbers. So all that's up there now. Other freebies. I did actually, I don't have one right in front of me. I don't really have one in front of me. I don't know where I put it. But every one of our, here, I'll grab this. Every one of the little embroidery hoop kits, every one of these that goes out has a stitch instruction booklet in it. And that stitch instruction booklet, I got permission from the publishers of a very famous embroidery book called The Stitches of Creative Embroidery. It's by a woman by the name of Jacqueline Enthoven. I love her embroidery book. It's my top embroidery book that I go to whenever I'm looking to research. It does not use photos, it uses sketches. And I find the sketches a little bit more helpful because you can kind of, I feel like the clarity is a little bit better on some of those. So anyway, so we got permission from the publishers to use her sketches in our stitch instruction booklet because they're awesome. And it was a great way too to kind of showcase her book, because it's just not as popular as it was maybe even 10 or 20 years ago. And I think it's a fantastic embroidery book. And so the stitch instruction booklet, I was like, we were creating it, and Kristen, our graphic designer, was like doing the PDF, and I'm like, wait, why don't we just put this up as a free chart? So that stitch instruction booklet with just the basic embroidery stitches is up on the Avlea website free chart page now. And it has like, I'm trying to think, everything we put in it: backstitch, satin stitch, chain stitch, Pekingese, seed stitch fill, French knot, Romanian stitch, stem stitch. Did I say French knot? I think I did. I'm sure I'm missing something. Oh, double buttonhole, which we only use on the Aegean Sunrise kit, but it's a really cool stitch. I'm actually already like, ooh, where can I use that again? So that stitch instruction booklet is great if you like want to try your hand at embroidery. It's kind of like 8 or 9 of just the easiest, most basic stitches. So that's all free now, which is kind of fun. Lots of free things. And what else is happening? Oh, I know what else is happening. Looking ahead to the December releases, we have a new BitKit. So I decided to keep the blue and white theme going. And this is going to be BitKit Scandinavian Stars. This is a design that came out of my collection of vintage Latvia needlework booklets. And again, I wanted something that was the blue and white. Whoops, it's got fuzz on it. Blue and white design on the white traditional ground cloth, so that we could have another option for that. I just feel like I'm going through a blue and white phase. Blues, greens, whites. I don't know. Just really loving that stuff right now. So I've got this one, which is going to basically go live probably right around the 1st of December, whenever that is. If that's a weekend, it's not going to go live on a weekend. So that's that one that's coming out. And then as far as those of you who have been asking about the grant, I have not heard back on the grant. For those of you who are not familiar with what I'm talking about, I applied in September. I applied for the Center for Craft Mid-Artist Fellowship grant. But I do have a little bit of exciting news on it. I haven't heard back if I've been accepted. The grant would basically fund me being in Greece for 4 weeks next year to just study folk embroidery. So exciting. But I went ahead and I took a step of faith and I booked my apartment for the month of September in Athens, because I thought, I'm going to think positive. If I don't get the grant, I'll figure out what to do after that. But I'm feeling pretty positive about it. So I booked an apartment, just a small, like 1-bedroom apartment in Athens, in just a neighborhood in Athens, so that I can basically have that as a home base. And then I'm just now starting to kind of really put together my itinerary. One of our Avlea customers, Anne, who's on the courtyard, she is actually a travel writer who specializes in writing about Greece. So she's been helping me kind of fill out my itinerary. But right now it's looking like I'll be in Athens. I'll be visiting the Folklore Museum in Nafplio, which is south of Athens. I might be able to swing into ancient Corinth. Not sure if I'll be able to make that. And then I'm now putting together a piece of the trip that will be going from Athens up to Volos, possibly Meteora, which is the famous monasteries in the mountain cliffs, built into the cliffs, and then Delphos, and then on my way to Thessaloniki. So pretty excited about that. I'll, if I get the grant, I'm kind of thinking that you guys all just hear the, scream of delight. Like wherever you are, you're just going to hear me screaming. If you hear a faint scream sometime in the middle to end of December, that's probably me. So I'm really keeping my fingers crossed and really hoping this is going to work. Honestly, it's a real leap of faith for me. I have been working continuously. I have actually held a job continuously since I was 15 years old. I have now worked for almost 40 years. Continuously. And that means, when I say continuously, that means that basically most years of my life, I have had no more than 3 weeks of vacation in a given year. And the only maternity leave I actually took was with my first child. I did take 3 months of maternity leave with my first daughter. My other two, I took a week. Yep, you heard that right. It was a week. That's part of the joy of owning a small business. So, I guess with my second, I took a 2-week maternity leave. She was born in the summer. That was a little easier. My last daughter was born in the middle of Lent, and with my ecclesiastical tailoring work, that was very challenging. I can actually remember basically being like 4 days postpartum, sitting on the couch, like answering emails. So this feels like a really big deal for me to, and I've always been happy to work. Like I want to make sure that I make that clear. I come from a family of blue collar people. Like we expect to work. And so I don't mind that, but it feels kind of exciting to be at a point where somebody's going to actually like pay for me to go and literally just study folk embroidery for a month. And like, I guess other people would consider that work. I don't consider that work. I consider that like breathing, or anything else that like, chocolate or popcorn or all the other lovely things in the world. So anyways, so I'm pretty excited. I won't hear for that for a while, but I am, even if I don't get the grant, I will be going to Greece. I just don't know for how long, but the grant will allow me to go for a full 4 weeks, which would be really exciting. So anyways, that's what's up with that. What else has been going on? I am getting better at photo editing. I am really proud of myself on that one. As you all know, photos have definitely been my Achilles heel. I am not a natural photographer. I didn't even own a camera till I started Avlea. But, photography is how we communicate. Images are how we communicate what something looks like and what it's, going to look like, or what it's made of, or the colors or things like that. So I've had to get a lot better at it. And that does not come easily to me. Give me something with textiles and I'm your girl. I'm going to be there like, yeah, let's spend 6 hours like trying a whole new embroidery technique. Woohoo. Give me a camera and I'm like, oh my gosh, where's the on button? Why is it not working? Why is it not doing what it's supposed to be doing? Adobe Lightroom Classic had me in tears no less than 3 separate times this past month. 3 separate times. Because I couldn't figure out the folders, and I couldn't figure out the files, I couldn't figure out how it worked, and like, it was very frustrating. But I finally sat down and watched hours of YouTube videos to teach myself better photo editing. Because I've been getting some help with the photo editing, but one of the issues with that is that the person doing the photo editing was in another state, and she can't see like what the fabrics and the coloration looks like right here. And I know exactly what the shade is of like the traditional ground cloth, or of say the Mikini or the window pane fabric. If I have it right here, I can actually sit there with my laptop and compare the actual fabric with like what it should look like. So anyways, that's probably like way more about photo editing than you even wanted to know. But I feel like I'm so bound and determined to learn this photo thing, taking the photos, staging properly, doing the editing, because I want people to see how amazing folk embroidery can be. And that's what really keeps me motivated, is that I need this tool of photography to do that. And so I'm really learning. Plus I feel like, hey, it's probably staving off Alzheimer's, So all that's good. I think that's about all I really have to share with you. Like I said, today was going to be kind of short and sweet. Remember the sale at the website. Thank you, 22, all in caps. Sign up for the email and you'll get the reminder this week and next. Scottish Rose just released. Have fun at the website. And I just want to wish everybody a really happy Thanksgiving. I could talk about Thanksgiving for probably like a very long time. I love Thanksgiving. It's one of my favorite holidays. And actually, for the first time in years, I'm not hosting. I'm actually going to a friend. They have a new to them house, and so they wanted to host. So I am literally showing up with like stuffing and wine, and I'm like, woohoo, this is like a party. So I'm pretty excited about that. Well, okay, true confessions. I actually did buy a little small turkey because I'm going to make one the next day because like I really like making turkey and I really like eating turkey. So that's my Thanksgiving celebrations, but I'm looking forward to a very fun, we're having a little Friendsgiving here in Salem with during COVID. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this in a FlossTube, but during COVID, we homeschooled our then 10-year-old daughter with 2 other little girls because we didn't want our daughter to be like all on her own for COVID. And so we kind of quarantined with 2 other families that had 5th grade girls. And we honestly barely knew each other when we started that, but we're like, hey, 5th grade girls, great. What can go wrong? And it ended up being this really great thing. And so we've become very close with those families since we all basically spent the year educating our daughters together. So it was pretty great. So we're going to do Thanksgiving, little Friendsgiving going on there. So I'm wishing all of you a really, really lovely Thanksgiving. I hope wherever you are, you're eating exactly the Thanksgiving foods you want with exactly the Thanksgiving people you want to be eating them with. So I'm probably enjoying some stitching too. Yeah, I think a little stitching and pumpkin pie is a great combo. So thank you so much for joining me. And I will be back in the middle of December. And there'll probably be a lot going on then because we've got a lot of new designs getting ready to come on out for 2023. So I will probably be giving you the rundown of all the new stuff next month. So thank you so much for watching.